What's up, everyone? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. My friend, the holidays are upon us.
Yeah.
As this episode is being released, we are now in basically the last 2 working days of the year because, as everyone knows, once Christmas week hits, no real business gets done. Christmas week and New Year's week.
It's already starting to get pretty quiet in our office and we're going to be even quieter next week, but I'm saving my vacation time because I got a lot of vacations planned for next year that I gotta jump, save those
Yeah.
times so I'm ready for it. So.
Yeah, Janice has a major project actually launching this week, so we have no children for the holidays, but we really can't go anywhere because she has to be close to the office just in case something happens. So
Oh, got it. Okay. Wow. That
just
sucks.
just hanging out. I figure, well, everyone's gone, so I'll work in the mornings, and then I'll just go figure out some fun, holiday stuff to do in the afternoon, like go watch football, have a beer.
I
No
have
real
to
crazy.
laugh a little bit because, being a dog owner as I am, we have a Shih Tzu that's a little bit older and she has the tendencies of being like an old woman because she has a little snore that she does that she's more sinusy than the other two dogs.
Are you talking
And
about Walt Star in the background?
yeah, I'm listening to Walt like, oh, that's like my old dog.
Yeah, he is laying next to me, making sure that he is seen. And he's not really sleeping; he's just talking. His
Oh,
eyes are wide open. He's just stretched out.
oh, okay, yeah. Like our dog Molly, she'll be sleeping in the bed and you hear this.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that is like, oh my gosh. So yeah, Walt reminded me of Molly.
Oh yeah, he does that. He when he wants you to know that he's there and he's sleeping, the snore will get very loud for a second and then go back to normal, just so
Hey,
you're aware.
I learned something about a holiday thing that I had no idea about until just recently and wanted to know if you know about this little nugget of information that kids taught me that I didn't know about.
Uh huh.
I guess I didn't know that if a human touches the elf on the shelf, the elf will not come to your house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It came about that I was at someone's house and they had, a couple little kids and I went, like I saw the elf on the shelf and I went, oh, look, it's the elf on the shelf. And the kids like freaked out. Don't touch it, don't touch it, because then the elf won't come, the elf won't come. And I pulled my hand away and I didn't know what to say at this point because part of me was, well, let's just say part of me was about ready to ruin a child's traditional, little story. And I thought,
Yeah,
no, I'm not that kind of person, so don't do anything. But I was
yeah.
like, I never knew that, dude. I never knew that if you touch the elf on the shelf, he won't come to the house.
It's funny you mention that because uh, our youngest is 9, and she's on the verge. Like she has her doubts, but I think she's doubling down on her belief this year.
Okay.
And she looked at me the other day, and I've had to pick her up, drive her around, take her to dance a couple times because everyone's been busy, and she and I don't get a lot of car time together lately, just because the way that our schedules work out. And when we talk, we kind of just we poke at each other because that's our relationship. And she asked me, she goes, "How come we don't have an elf on the shelf?" And she goes, "Can we go to Walmart and get an elf on the shelf?" And the, it's it's hard for me when she says stuff like that because I'm like, well, I mean, let's be real, kid. Like we watched the Elf on the Shelf cartoon on Netflix a few weeks back, and she was way into it, and I get it. I mean, to her, it's like when we watched the Charlie Brown Christmas or the Garfield Christmas back in the day. So I get it, and I just kind of laughed. I was like, well, hold on. You want to go to Walmart to get that elf on the shelf? And I'm glad I half paid attention to that cartoon. And I said, but you saw how the elves get here. How is that the same elf as the elves that Santa uses to watch? And it was a very interesting conversation because she had it all explained, and I can't quite recall the whole conversation because I was blown away because she's thought about this, and it just made me laugh that she's dead set on having an elf. And it's like, well, it's a week away from Christmas. I think we're a little late getting the elf out here. And plus, I haven't seen the elves at Walmart, so I think they're all in the houses for the year. She goes, "Oh, okay. Well, we need to get one early for next year." So I said, "Okay. We'll make a note to get an elf early next year." And I thought I was out of it. I thought I had cleared the
Yeah, you
hurdle.
thought you sidestepped the mine, the landmine, and that you were ready to go forward.
Yeah, like, okay, we're good. I have, we have avoided buzzing the tower. We are, clear skies and going. And then she turned and she asked me in the most innocent question ever. And I have to thank God that I watched a movie that I used the plot line for to explain this next question. She asked me, she goes, "How did Santa Claus become Santa Claus?"
Okay.
Now, Jason, you have known me for over 15 years. We're pushing 20 years of friendship at this
Yep.
point.
Yep.
I think you are one of the people in this world that would argue I am probably one of the last people you want to ask. How did Santa Claus get to become
Oh,
Santa Claus?
yeah, that's a tough one, man.
Because I have made a career of just shooting from the hip and not thinking about what I say, and I just start talking, and I just whine to lie and get him confused and get him on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But she was dead serious. She wanted
Yeah.
to know, how did Santa Claus become Santa Claus? No one's been able to tell her. So I did the only thing I could think of at that time. I had just finished watching a few nights before uh, Violet Night and Fred Claus. So for anyone that's not familiar with the movie Violet Night, came out last year. David Harbour is Santa Claus. It's basically a Die Hard meets Home Alone. Santa Claus is delivering presents during a hostage situation where a rich family gets taken hostage and he gets captured and has to fight his way out. And you find out that Santa is actually an ancient Viking.
Yes.
Fantastic plot line. Really, it's a holiday classic for adults. I thought that might be too brutal for the child.
It might
So
have been a little brutal.
there's no easy way to say Santa Claus is a Viking warrior. So I pivoted to Fred Claus, the Vince Vaughn comedy from 2007.
Okay.
And have you ever seen Fred Claus?
No.
Kevin Spacey, Vince Vaughn. Um,
No.
actually, very good, very funny movie. Paul Giamatti plays Santa Claus, but the plot line is Fred Claus is the oldest of the Claus brothers, Fred, and then there's Chris. Um, Fred is the apple of everyone's eye until Chris starts getting older and starts doing all these nice things, and he eventually is granted sainthood.
Oh.
And when he's granted sainthood, he and his wife and family become eternal, essentially. So that's when he's gifted the chance to be Santa Claus. So I went with that one.
Oh, see, okay. See, I would have gone with the Santa Claus storyline with Tim Allen that basically it passes from person to person, that, when someone gets tired or gets hurt or injured, they pass on that responsibility to the next qualified person.
So it's almost like the Green Lanterns in the comic books. I get that.
Yeah. I mean,
And,
you could go with a lot of different stories, versus, do we even know what the real story is?
the funny thing is I completely meant to Google it, but there are so many different versions and
Yeah.
so many different cultures. I don't think there's any one right answer. But it was interesting to me because she bought it because it made sense, and that's good. Um,
Now, this was Jocelyn that was asked
no,
this?
it was the youngest. It was the youngest. It was Jen.
Oh, okay. Jen. Got it.
Yeah, no, Jocelyn's well past that. The
Yeah.
oldest is
Okay.
well past that. I have another story. I have a long burn story about her later on that it just made me laugh the other night.
Okay.
But it's interesting to me because the youngest is right on the verge of I don't know because my friends are starting to not believe, but she wants to believe so hard because it's just the magic of everything. And I have a feeling when she finds out eventually, it's going to go one of two ways. Either she's like, all right, cool, whatever, on to the next thing, or she's going to be devastated.
Oh, okay. Scott, do you remember when you heard more of the truth about your belief in Santa Claus?
Yeah, I believe the EP ruined it for me.
Okay, so you had an older brother who, at some age, told you that the lies that were I'm sorry, the stories that were being told by your parents were not absolutely true.
Yeah, I want to say that's what happened.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I think that's typical. I was probably 7 or 8,
Yeah.
and a kid at school had told me that some of the beliefs that I had were not actually true. And I was the devastated um, participant in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I remember going to my mother and asking, I said, I heard this from a kid in school. Is it true? And my mom had to do the dirty work because I don't know where my dad was at the time, but my mom had to do the dirty work and kind of, now she kind of came up with, as long as the art of giving is in your heart, there's always a Santa Claus.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the best answer.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. It got me thinking, I think this is year 2 where Jocelyn doesn't believe anymore.
Okay.
Like she's out because I remember 2 years ago we were getting ready to drop her off at her dad's house for Christmas, and she had this digital camera. And I think I talked about this on the show 2 years ago because
Yes,
it
I
just made me
do
laugh.
remember that. Yeah.
Where she was going to capture Santa Claus by hiding the camera in the tree, and she was going to catch him delivering the presents. It was like catching Sasquatch, and I had her walk through that plan 3 times. I had her ready to go. We dropped her, she got in the car. I said, goodbye. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I can't wait to see the pictures. I turned around. She left the camera.
Oh.
So
Ah.
she found out a short time later. So it's fine. But, then she had last year was you have to play along, and, it's still fun for your sister. So you get to help with the things. So
Yeah.
she's cool with that. But,
Yeah.
it's funny because the stories you tell kids, um, they matter because you don't think they're paying attention, but they do. And sometimes it comes back and it just makes you laugh, like, oh man, that's funny, or oh, I got to fix that. That's a problem. I didn't really think you took me seriously on that. So um, I feel like Christmas, like Santa Claus, is the first big hurdle for
So,
that.
so this brings up a really good question in my mind as I'm walking through this. When I look back now and look back at my mother and my father's explanation of Santa Claus back then,
Hmm.
um, I don't look back with negative feelings that I was lied to.
No,
And I
no.
don't look back like, and not only do I not look back at angrily that I was lied to about Santa Claus, but I perpetrate the lie to my kids, and now I'm perpetrating that same lie to the grandkids. Like it's a continuation of a lie, but we're okay with it. And in a world where we kind of frown upon being dishonest and lying, we seem to have been okay with the white lies that keep magic in the air for the kids.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it because I look back to like some of the first Christmases I remember. I remember being so excited to get up on Christmas morning, and also, by the way, if you're Santa Claus, you don't have to wrap presents. I mean, I don't know if people thought about that, but not all the presents have to be wrapped if you're from Santa
Oh,
Claus.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Some of
That,
them were definitely not wrapped when I was a kid. He
yeah,
just put
like
them under the tree
the
and
bikes
left.
and everything get a bow on them. I remember, I think being 5 or 6 years old and waking up on Christmas morning in our old house and walking out and seeing the Christmas tree, and we had bikes under it and all this stuff, and it was so freaking cool. It was so magical, and that's the one thing like I have in my mind about that. Just the picture of like turning the corner and seeing it all there. And as you get older now, I remember being a teenager. It's like, well, let's just do it on Christmas Eve. That way there's no rush on Christmas morning. We can play with our stuff. We can install our stuff. We can do all the things we want to do, and we can take our time on Christmas Day. And it's a little bit easier that way. So it changes as you get older, but like the belief in the magic with kids, I think is what's worthwhile. And I have a very hard time. I think you'd have a very hard time coming across anybody that looks back and says, man, I'm pissed my parents lied to me about Santa Claus.
Well, I would argue that most people, now don't get me wrong, I'm speaking in generalities. Most
Hmm.
people would say, no, you do not ruin it for a child. You let them discover on their own and when it's in its due course. So most people believe what you're saying. Hey, I'm not mad that I was lied to. In fact, I'm going to say the same lie when it's my time to say that lie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Jocelyn, God bless her. She said the lie last year and this year.
Right.
You know what I
I mean,
mean? So she's now even bought into it. Okay, when you're around little kids, you're going to keep the lie going. It's like
right.
you're okay with that kind of lie. Like I love the fact that we've come up with a story to tell little kids so that they're not touching the little elf. They're
Yeah.
believing that it's an actual elf and not just a toy. Well, you can't touch it because if you touch it, then they won't come. And little kids will not touch it.
Okay.
You know what
Yeah.
I
I
mean?
mean,
Like it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that we lie to them and it's okay because it's almost like a tradition, a family tradition
no,
that just goes along and keeps chugging along.
now on the flip side, I know someone that I could I'm not a violent man, but I could punch him for the thought process he has. He refuses to allow his young daughters, uh, kindergarten and second grade, to believe in Santa Claus. He has told them flat out that he does not exist. He refuses to let them have a Christmas tree or any of the fun of Christmas
Wow. Okay.
because he doesn't think it's good for them to go on and believing in magic because the guy's a complete tool. And you spend 5 minutes talking to him, like, you know what? You just need to be punched. Um, but like that to me takes away from childhood. It takes away like the whimsy and the magic of growing up, you know?
Well, Scott, I would take it a step further. When I go to a magic show,
Mm-hmm.
I think the magician telling me how he does it ruins the magic.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to
No.
know. Just let me keep in the back of my mind that yes, this is not real. But there's a little slight in my mind that says, well, maybe it is real. Don't ruin it for me. Just let me enjoy the magic. Let me
I
enjoy
agree.
it.
You remember being a kid and going to, or did the magician come to your school at Christmas time? Or was that just us around here?
Yeah, I mean, in our days, no, we were up in Alaska when I was in school, so we didn't really have magicians. We barely had anything.
So when the moose came at Christmas time
Yeah,
to deliver the Christmas presents and do the magic show, I
yeah,
get it.
yeah. That
No,
was the
but I
only
remember
thing
being
about Alaska that was really nice is when Santa came on the sleigh with the 8 reindeer. They were real reindeer. There was no jacking around, man. That was
yeah,
really it.
right. There was no imposter reindeer.
No imposters, no Rudolph. It was just the guy in a sleigh, and they were dogs, but they had little horns on them. You know, it was all
Yeah,
real.
yeah. So it's funny to me because we're talking about things that lies we tell kids that ultimately Santa Claus in my mind, it's a fun lie, it's a good lie, white lie because it gives them the magic of the holiday season, like the beginning stakes of the holiday of the magic of the holiday season. Because as you get older and they have kids and you see the magic those kids have, it changes the holidays for you. Because for me, I don't have my own. Well, Janice's kids are basically mine, and to see her youngest's excitement for everything makes it cool. It makes it fun, you know. And otherwise, most years, to me, I don't think I'd really particularly care if it's Christmas or not. Like, I get some time off, but aside from that, life's going to go on.
Right. My favorite photo of Jameson, Noreen's grandson, is we took him up to Flagstaff to the Polar Express,
Uh huh.
and the Polar Express takes you to the North Pole,
Hmm.
and you get to meet Santa Claus, and you go through like the elves toy making workshop, and you go to where Mrs. Claus makes little cookies for the kids and stuff, and then
Yeah.
you go through a couple of rooms in the back of the warehouse and a door slides open slowly, and each family gets their opportunity to see Santa Claus on the on his chair, where you can go up and meet him. And when we were getting ready, Noreen had either me or Noreen had the camera, and we took a picture of Jameson's face when that door opened, and the pure joy and wonderment of this little 5-year-old seeing Santa. live in person at the North Pole. It's my favorite picture when he's 58 and I'm 158. I'm going to remember that picture on my deathbed of one of the moment that you just talked about, that magic, that
That
I'm
pure
okay to
joy.
lie to this kid as long as I possibly can, because that moment, that look on his face of just total, like, awe, like, what am I seeing? This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my
And
life.
what's cool about that is like someday you'll explain that to him. This was you and you believed, and he'll be like, yeah, whatever, until he has a kid
Right.
or a grandkid, and he sees the same thing. He's like, you know what? I get it now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it.
You're like, you can't capture that magic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's the best part. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, other things we tell kids lies about so that they stay engaged.
Well, speaking of which, I have one more story about the other child that I told her this story years ago. And I believe I told her, I talked about it on the show, and it paid off this week. It paid off in such a big way. Janice looked at me, and I don't know if she looked at me with pride or with, I could hit you. I mean, it was beautiful. So Janice and the girls have been living with me for almost 3 years now. Moved in spring of 21. And that first spring they lived with me in here. Um, Jocelyn was talking about one day. I think she was in fifth grade at the time. They had the lockdown alarms went off. Something was happening, so they had to keep everybody in the classrooms and whatnot. And I didn't think much about it because it turned out to be nothing. But I said, yeah, Sasquatch probably came out the Wallabies. No big deal. I mean, they do that from time to time when they get hungry. But if you have bubble gum in your backpack or your pocket, they leave you alone because they hate the smell of bubble gum.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's simple as that. She leaves. She goes, "Can we go get some bubble gum?" Um, I wanted my backpack just in case it comes back. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So we went and I bought her some bubble gum, and that was cool. And she tried to buy cinnamon. And I said, you can't buy cinnamon bubble gum because that deters the Yeti, which lives in the Himalayas. You have to remember different flavors of bubble gum deter different
Oh,
types of Yeti
yeah.
or Bigfoot. So
Good point.
the ones around here, you just need traditional bubble gum. They don't like it. It's fine. So if you ever go camping, you ever do these things, make sure you have bubble gum with you because they hate the smell and you'll keep them away. So cut to December of 2023, 2.5 years later, almost 3 years later. Uh, Jocelyn will be spending the holidays with her dad and stepmom, and they're going to go camping up on the Mogollon Rim, in the other side of the state in Arizona. Um, if you had never heard, the Mogollon Rim has its own version of Bigfoot called the Mogollon Monster.
Okay.
It's been spotted, documented. They have witness accounts. It's been around for decades. So we're sitting at dinner, and she's telling us about where they're going. I said, "Oh, that's cool. There's the Mogollon Monster up there, so that'll be funny. Keep an eye out for him." And she looked at me and says, "Oh, that reminds me. Will you take me to go get bubble gum?"
Ooh.
And
Oh man.
I stopped for a second, and I realized, oh shit, she's serious. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can stop and get some bubble gum before you leave. And Janice just looked at me from across the table like, I can't fucking believe you. Like, one, I've forgotten all about that lie. And two, I am so happy she took that to heart. And like, we went and got her the bubble gum. But three, if she ever figures out that's bullshit, it's gonna be funny as long as she's not actually chased by a Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, and don't you think that that's really the hard part about lies is if no one's getting hurt, that's why they
Yeah,
call them white lies, right? Because
yeah,
if no one's getting hurt or no one is being devastated by a lie, you can kind of live with it and kind of laugh at it. It's like, oh, that was funny. You guys told me a little secret, um, you know, versus the lies that, totally devastate you. Like, I really love you. And then you find out that you're sleeping with a sister, right?
yeah.
Those kind of lies are the ones that devastate. And maybe that's why the Santa Claus one is awesome because even if Santa Claus isn't real, you're still going to get presents. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You're still going to have presents.
Yeah.
When Jocelyn finds out that the bubble gum doesn't do what it's supposed to do,
Let's hope she never finds that out.
she
Number
might be
one.
mad at you. Like, why would you make me look like a fool But on the other side, she'll say, "Oh, you got me there. You got me. You got me."
Yeah. Well, what's funny is because that's one of the things she likes to do when we were in car trips, just her and I. Like if I'm bringing her back from Phoenix or dropping her off, I have those podcasts on that talk about the Sasquatch and other paranormal things, and never once, and it just occurred to me, like never once have they ever talked about bubblegum and Sasquatch. And she hasn't picked up on that, or she hasn't been paying attention to that because she's not going to it yet. So it was
Yeah.
just one of those things that made me laugh. It's like, huh, that's a long term joke burn. I really appreciate that, and hopefully someday when I tell her I was just messing with her, you know, she'll appreciate the joke.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
no, I mean, and she'll have an opportunity when she has kids to kind of carry the joke on.
yeah, I know her EP's listening to this, so he's not going to see her in this trip, but he needs to shut the fuck up and not ruin this later on because this is a lot of fun for some of us. So he could have some fun with it too, if he allows himself when we come to Colorado this summer.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah.
You know?
That kind of leads me to one final point. We talk about magic and sometimes you just don't want to know the truth. Just let me believe in the fiction.
Yeah,
Do you find that sometimes with some of the, not conspiracy theories, but, some of the stories about the Sasquatch and stuff, that part of the, part of the thing that makes it so special is you don't know for sure, and that the allure of not knowing the whole truth makes it more enjoyable than if you just knew the truth. Like if
I
you
think
like, cause I'd mentioned that a couple podcasts ago, like, once you prove that a conspiracy theory is true or not, it's kind of like, well, what do you do with your life now? Like, okay,
yeah,
so you prove that the Yeti exists. So if you
yeah.
don't prove it, and just let it be the myth and the legend and all the fun stuff that goes with it, doesn't it make it more fun just to like not try to prove it real?
I think we feel better with the illusions we create.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Like I truly feel that, that whatever lie that lets the illusion just stay a little bit longer, we're okay with being lied to about that. Like once we know how the magic trick works, we're not, we're not that
you're not
happy.
you're not as engaged.
Yeah. Like anytime you see it again, you are just like, oh, I know how that works, so I'm not that impressed.
Yeah, right.
So it's like with conspiracy theories, I'd rather, if I believe in a conspiracy theory, I'd rather just not try to prove it right or wrong, just live with it and enjoy the magic of it, because finding out that it's true or not true serves me no purpose. It serves me no benefit for me.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I don't know if you're paying attention to the news. The governor in Georgia came out and he was ripping the former president about his election lies, and he had a quote in there that just kind of made me laugh because it's right in tune with what you're talking about. He said just like you know the landing on the moon. Um, he did not win this election, just like we landed on the moon, just like Bigfoot does not exist, and all these other conspiracy theories that are out there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, what are you playing into? Because if you're saying him not winning the election is just like us landing on the moon, because a lot of people believe we didn't land on the moon, and a lot of people believe in Sasquatch. So what are you trying to say with what you're saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah, you're kind of defeating the purpose
yeah,
of your
I
argument.
know what you're trying to say, but what you're saying
Yeah.
does not mean what you think it means to a large portion of the population. So you should probably clarify.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no, yeah, I mean, obviously, some lies cause more damage than others. When we did "You Are Not the Father,"
yeah,
there's a lot of lies on those shows, and when the people find out the truth, it's devastating. Like
yeah,
it's hurtful. Even if you find out at some point that the elf on the shelf isn't quite the elf on the shelf that you remember, you're not hurt by it. You're not. I mean,
yeah.
it takes away the
Strawberry
magic,
twinkle
though.
butt not being real isn't going to end you.
But it does take away the magic, and
It does.
for as long as we can, I wish that we as adults would embrace magic a little bit more and just
Let it be.
let me dream it, let me believe it just for a little bit longer. And don't get me wrong, I know that people like the EP. You know, I'm loaded in facts. I don't want to have magic in my life. I want to be, you know, I want the truth of whatever it is. But from time to time, just let me believe that when Chris Angel makes an elephant disappear, he actually did that. I'm okay with not knowing how he did it.
And I will end it with this. Just, we want the EP to believe in magic. He's in the playoffs in 2 leagues this year. Let's let him have some magic, thinking he's going to actually beat me in one of these leagues for that championship. So that's the kind of magic he needs to believe in right now. But as we wrap up today's show, is there a lie you were told as a kid that you found out later on that wasn't true? Did it change your perspective? We want to hear about it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. How are you celebrating the new year in the Denver metro area? The EP wants to know. He's going to say he's on call, but really he's looking for a fun place to go hang out and ring in the new year. Hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and the Instagram.
Well, it's kind of crazy that we talked about this because the next podcast that comes from us will be after the holidays. So what an appropriate way to lead into the Christmas day and then to talk about the little white lies that make our childhood so much more fun.
Absolutely. So before we take it home, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. Enjoy the season. Be safe, be fun, and we promise that we're going to keep having some more insanely fun and occasionally awkward conversations with you over 2024.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, dude. So that was a good Christmas spirit, Christmas wish for everybody.
Take us home, Jason.
Hey, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. That was Scott. I am Jason, and as always, if you never